So over the weekend, Republican House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, either ignorant of, which is always possible with him, or unbothered by, also likely, his own continued startling hypocrisy, suggested Russia would never have invaded Ukraine ever in the first place if the U.S. had simply provided weapons to President Zelensky sooner. Here's why that matters. You'll remember just 2 years ago, Kevin McCarthy fiercely, repeatedly, over and over again, defended the twice-impeached ex-president's campaign to hold up military aid for Ukraine in his demented attempt to demand political help from President Zelensky. Along with 194 other House Republicans, he voted against Donald Trump's first impeachment for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress in that investigation. Let's bring in former Republican Congressman David Jolly, an MSNBC political analyst and national chairman of the Serve America movement. Claire is still with us. It is sort of the audacity of dopes to make these comments, but it shows how deadly serious the ex-president's act was of holding up congressionally approved military assistance for Ukraine. David Jolly.
Yeah, and as you said, for Kevin McCarthy, it shows either ignorance or indifference, both of which he's often guilty of. And if it didn't pertain to matters of national security, perhaps we could laugh about it. Kevin McCarthy is somebody who, if he thinks he can become speaker by saying we should have armed Ukraine, he'll say it. Tomorrow, if he thinks he can become speaker by saying we shouldn't, he'll say that. His words are really meaningless in the public forum right now. But I think what it is indicative of, and the danger we face as a country, frankly, in this moment, is the level of negative partisanship around what is a matter of global security. You know, as much as the Biden administration has pursued a strategy that it thinks is just aggressive enough while still keeping us out of actual conflict, in many ways, Vladimir Putin controls many of the next steps. If he escalates this through a limited nuclear option or through additional war crimes or through chemical weapons, what does the U.S. and the West do then? There is a way in which the U.S. will have to continue to confront and come closer and closer to actual conflict. And that is where the majority and minority leaders of the House and Senate and the White House really need to be on a unified front right now, not taking political potshots at each other in a critical moment.
Well, I'm not going to stop taking potshots at them because they didn't vote to affirm our commitment to NATO. I mean, they are being political, David Jolly, and I think calling them out in a political arena is exactly what Democrats who care about national security should do, right?
And Nicole, I agree with that. I think we have to acknowledge, though, what calling them out means, which is recognizing the real destructive narrative that they are laying on the body politic of a nation that may be facing an increased security moment. That is why they should be called out, because it is malfeasance on their part, notwithstanding the hypocrisy of the statements they've made, given how they handled the Trump situation. I just think it's important to contextualize this, that while our political leaders, largely on the Republican side, almost exclusively in this moment, want to play politics with the Biden administration, they're doing so in a very dangerous way. And I think we have to focus on the danger that they are bringing into the conversation by doing this, much more than just the politics through which they see this.
Claire, I could not agree more. And I guess my point is, if the parties were inverted, Republicans would make it a political poison pill to be a threat to national security. And I feel like Democrats don't aggressively prosecute that case. The Republican Party under Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell are a threat to national security, ours at home, and the global security arrangements that have kept us safe since World War II. Why isn't that at least part of the conversation about the economy that Democrats are prosecuting aggressively and on the offense for the midterms?
You know, it's interesting. I think since Donald Trump, the Republican Party has been so transformed. He has become such a role model for success for Republican politicians. And that engenders hypocrisy. It engenders fraud. It engenders lying as a major part of your public service. And so that's why you see all of this hypocrisy, where they spent years talking about Hillary's emails, which were nothing, and yet nothing about top secret files stolen from the White House by Donald Trump. It's why we continue to focus on what, frankly, not enough on what we've done, but we focus on what we haven't gotten done instead of focusing on the real serious problems the Republican Party has. I mean, the hypocrisy here with McCarthy, think about this, his concern for the Jewish community, and he failed to speak up and call out members of his own caucus going to white nationalist groups and speaking. He did nothing. Josh Hawley voting against aid to Ukraine and then mouthing that somehow this administration wasn't doing enough. It is everywhere in their midst, and we are doing a bad job of pointing out their hypocrisy, and we should quit talking about what we haven't gotten done, talk about their internal problems and what we have gotten done.